This video is brought to you by the Farmer Klein YouTube channel. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Hello everybody, welcome back to the Farming Simulator 22 Map First Impressions video. Today we're going to take a look at Alma, Missouri. But before that, this video is brought to you by Evil Reg and Greg Meusen. Thank you for being farm barons. So the Alma, Missouri map can be found over at the farmingsimulator.com website or the in-game downloadable content menu, and as of the 1.0 release, this map is available for all platforms. Let me read you some of the description. Welcome to Alma, Missouri. This map is based on a small, beautiful town in Alma in the state of Missouri, United States. The vast majority of the buildings, residential and commercial, on the main street are modeled after real buildings found in the city, as well as traffic signs and street markings. Of course, due to gameplay, some things have been changed and some have been added, but the feeling of a small American town has been retained. On this map, you'll find 3 pre-placed farms. The main one that belongs to you at the start, and 2 that in order to use, you must buy the land first. The main farm has starting vehicles, equipment, as well as cow barn, horse stables, and sheep barn, and 3 fields. This map includes 42 farmlands, 41 fields, from small to big, 5 fields with grass, missions, 1 small forestry area, a BGA that will not produce electricity but will produce methane that you can transport and sell. This map also includes traffic, pedestrians, Missouri license plates, a custom crop counter, and a train sell point. In addition to that, there are some custom productions that include a pizzeria, ketchup production, popcorn factory, and a corn dryer. There's also modified productions at the grain mill and bakery. This map includes a custom fruit at the greenhouses in pumpkins, and we also have the ability to buy sugar pallets if we do not wish to do sugar beets. In addition, this map has soybeans that will grow in rows and produce straw, custom maize textures by Benji FS, 3 new crops in rye, peas, and alfalfa. Alfalfa can also be used to make alfalfa hay and is also an animal food requirement. The swathing system by BC Bueller Farms has been implemented on this map, and while there are no required mods, it is highly suggested if you do wish to use swathing that you use BC Bueller Farms mods that are set up to work with that. In addition, this map has a working car wash station in town. There's also modified the crop counter as well as weather, such that you will be sure to have lots of snow in the winter. Let's go ahead and load on in. We are going to use the mods. We typically use when we take a look at maps. That is additional field info, additional game settings, field lease, field calculator, and precision farming. If you happen to load this map up in a farm manager mode or start from scratch, you will find that the main farm is barren of all buildings and vehicles. What's rather interesting, though, is the second and third farms that are pre-placed on the map are also pre-placed in those alternate game modes. In addition, you do not own any land in those alternate game modes. Now, of course, we are loading this map up in new farmer mode, and that is how you're going to see it here in this video. When you load in for the very first time, you load in actually outside of town along the main drag. Right here we have our welcome to Alma sign. And, well, we're not going to hold it against the map, but we have a John Deere Gator that we can hop into in order to make our way down into town. Let's go ahead and take a look at the PDA itself. One of the first things you're going to notice is, well, the map, kind of the first things I noticed is the map is skewed a little bit. Right? My eyes like I would like that top road to be horizontal, right? But it's not. I like the bottom road here to be a little bit horizontal. It's not. I like this road to be vertical. It's not. Nor is this one. That's okay. That's the way life works. Now, something else that we're going to find here is lots of irregularly shaped fields. If you're someone that likes to just hire helpers, well, this map may just not be for you because hired helpers are going to have a little bit of a doozy on a lot of these realistically shaped fields. This map does have all the standard crops available to us in Farm Sim 22. In addition, we have rye, peas, and alfalfa as the description mentioned. And if we take a look at our lands area, we start up by owning Farmland ID 1 as well as Farmland ID 8. That is where the main starting farm is going to be, at farmland ID 1. In addition to that, we have a pig farm located up here at farmland ID 10. Then we have a cow farm located over here at farmland ID 35. And interesting enough, the cow farm over here at farmland ID 35 does start with, I believe, 50 cows, whereas the other farms are barren of all animals at the start. Let's go ahead and take a look at our farmland lease screen. The farmland lease screen is going to show us all of the buyable farmlands, how large those farmlands are, if those farmlands include any field or fields, what is included. Then lastly, how much is that farmland going to cost us? We're then going to be able to cross-reference that with the field calculator screen, and this is going to show us the specific sizes of the fields themselves. Then we can also then go and compare the field numbers with the farmland ID numbers in the previous menu in order to see how much any one particular field is going to cost. Let's go ahead and take a look and see how the soil map is being applied to these fields. This is the generic soil map that does come with the Precision Farming mod. Let's go ahead and take a look at our crop counter. We do have a custom crop counter available here. We did hear that in the description. As you can see here, we do have, for example, an extended planting schedule for wheat that extends all the way into November, then kicks back up here in March. In addition to that, we do have custom growth schedules for our additional crops in rye, peas, and alfalfa. Take a look at our prices screen. We do indeed have the ability to sell all of the base game crops that are available to us in Farm Sim 22. We also have the ability to sell our eggs, wool, and milk, as well as our silage, hay, straw, and grass. As we take a look down through our base game productions, though, you will find that we do have one item that is standing out as missing, and that particular item is going to be our planks. For whatever reason, we do not have the ability to sell planks on this map, but we do have the ability to process those planks into furniture if we put down a carpentry shop. In addition, we do not have the ability to buy bulk lime, nor do we have a stone crusher pre-placed on the map. So if you are playing with stones enabled, you will need to put down your own stone sell point. In addition to that, we have multiple sell points for peas, rye, dried corn, as well as alfalfa and alfalfa hay. We also have soybean straw. We have propane, which is going to be required for our corn dryer. We can make corn flour or fine corn flour. We also have the ability to make cornbread, sweet cornbread, pumpkin pie, popcorn, butter popcorn, ketchup. Then we have pumpkins and pizza. And then as far as our platinum expansion production items, we do not have the ability to sell any of the platinum expansion production items. So for the one forestry area, if you do want to do some platinum expansion productions, well, you will need to put down your own sell point. And lastly, if you are playing with pumps and hoses, you will be able to sell your separated manure. You start out with a decent listing of starting machinery. It's all owned. None of it is leased, and it all has no operating hours. We do not start out with any animals on the starting farm, but like I said, the cow farm does include 50 cows at the start if we buy that. We do have contracts available on this map. We do not own any production chains at the start, and this map also does not have any collectibles. Let's go ahead and take a look at our starting fleet. We start out with Case Maxim CVX 115 small tractor. We have the John Deere 62030R as well as the 4755 medium tractors. Then we have the Case Axoflow 7150 harvester that is paired up with the Terraflex 28-foot grain header as well as the 8-row Diamant Capello corn header. We also then have the header trailer in the Nardi N40BX. We have our John Deere Gator, as we mentioned earlier. We have the Brantner TA 23065/2 Power Tube Plus trailer. We have the All-Rounder Flatline 600 cultivator, as well as the Pottinger Terrasem C6F seeder. We have the Optima RS planter. Then we have the GMD 4411 side mower and the NovaCat 301 AM ED Pro front mowers. We have the GF 8712 tedder, the Semez Z2 840H windrower. We have the Massey Ferguson RB 4160V ProTech round baler and wrapper combo. We have the trailed Klein 4.0 Premium Silo King TMR mixer. And then we wrap it all up with the Convey All 1690 grain conveyor belt, as well as some Meridian TL1239 auger. Now, as far as custom vehicles or machinery that is included with the map, we do have 2 trailers in the MKS-8 and the MKS-32. They have been set up to haul both propane and methane, because we do have propane as a new fill type for our corn dryer, and our BGA is going to produce methane that we can transport. And then if we wanted to, we can also buy sugar pallets as opposed to needing to produce sugar in order to then have our sweet cornbread. While we're talking about productions, let's go ahead and take a look at the custom productions that are available on the map. So our biogas plant, as I mentioned, is set up to not produce energy. Instead, it's going to output methane or digestate. That's going to have silage, slurry, manure, and sugar beet cut as inputs. We have our corn dryer, which is going to take standard corn as well as propane and make dried corn. Our sawmill is going to make planks or wood chips, but we're not going to be able to sell those planks, as I mentioned, unless we put our own sell point down or put down a carpentry shop to then further refine those planks into furniture. As far as our bakery goes, we have the ability to make bread, cornbread, cake, pumpkin pie, and sweet cornbread. So for our cornbread, we're going to take and use corn flour as well as butter in order to get our standard cornbread. Our pumpkin pie is going to be 2 flour, 2 sugar, 2 milk, 2 eggs, 2 butter, and then 2 pumpkins in order to make 6 pumpkin pies. Then our sweet cornbread, we're going to take corn flour, butter, and sugar in order to get our sweet cornbread. Our grain mill has been set up for not only wheat, barley, oat, and sorghum flour, but we can also make corn flour using standard corn, or we can make fine corn flour by taking dried corn and further processing it. Our pizzeria is going to take ketchup, flour, and cheese to make pizza. Not in my neighborhood, but maybe out in Missouri they make pizza a little differently. But at any rate, make sure you have ketchup if you do want to make pizza. Your ketchup, you're going to need 8 tomatoes and water to make 5 ketchups. We have a standard base game dairy. Our popcorn factor is going to take dried corn, and then it's going to make popcorn, or if you want to add a little butter, you can get yourself some butter popcorn with our dried corn and butter. Then we do have a Taylor also on the map. In addition to that, although we do not own it, as I mentioned, we do have custom greenhouses where we can then produce pumpkins in addition, so we can have our pumpkin pie down at the bakery. I've gone ahead and positioned myself over here at the main starting farm. That is going to be south of Field 1. We're right here down by the street. One thing that I do want to point out is that you do indeed have the ability to sell everything at all 3 farms. In fact, including you can get rid of the fence here along the road. Get rid of these deco elements. We have our farmhouse with our sleep trigger here around front. And then if we make a right as we come into the main farm, we got a nice storage shed for our machinery. And then a really nice cow barn. Really like this. So we have our trigger for our milk. We have our food trough and straw triggers right here. Inside, then we have our animal delivery point. And we're going to be able to hold 150 cows in this particular barn. We make our way up behind the cow barn. We have the sheep area. So here we have our food trough for our sheep. We have our sheep buy point. We're going to be able to hold 100 sheep in this building. Then we have our wall spawn point. Further up from the road, we then have our horse barn. And inside the horse barn, we have our food trough and our straw. Nice little riding rink here. And then we have our drop-off point for our horses. 16 horses in this building. We have 3 meridian silos. That's where you're going to have to use your auger and your belt in order to fill and empty those silos. And then this is where we're going to find our harvester and our case tractor. That is basically a tour of the main farm. You do have a pile of trash here, but rest assured, if you're someone that just doesn't like farm trash, you can get rid of this. You're not stuck with it. You can basically get rid of this entirely, either by starting in Farm Manager or start from scratch, or by selling any or all of the items here at the main farm. Let's go ahead and take a look at build mode, because we do have some custom sheds that are included with the map here. So we have a large pole barn or machine shed that I mentioned earlier. We have our I can't say this. We have this building, right? We're just going to go with that. Then we have several other buildings that we're going to find over at some other farms. We do have some custom silos in some bunker silos that have been set up to accept alfalfa and alfalfa hay in order to make silage. We're working with standard silo extensions, containers, tools, and then we do have the ability to put down a custom farmhouse. We do not have any of the custom productions that we can put down, so if we do happen to get rid of those, well, you're pretty much stuck, but that is something important to know. We do have the custom greenhouses, as I mentioned, and those greenhouses do have the ability to produce pumpkins. Let's just go ahead and put one down so we can take a look at that. No custom orchards or generators. We do have our custom animal pens, so if we do want to further modify the farm by putting even more animal pens down, we do have that capability. For cows, horses, pigs, sheep, and chickens. We have all standard deco elements. Then let's go ahead and take a look at our ground painting textures. Fairly standard farm sim painting textures, but we'll look at them nonetheless. So we have animal mud, asphalt, dirt, forest ground, grass, another form of grass, a little drier, another form of grass. We have some gravel. We have some gravel dust, a little bit refined gravel, some gravel with some green in it, gravel with a bit more green in it. Then we have another form of gravel here, and some more gravel. You can never have enough gravel, right? Let's just keep on going down the gravel hut. Then we have our animal mud. Then we have fairly standard plants as well. Let's go ahead and take a little closer look at all of these. So lots of different options as far as ground textures go. Should be able to more than easily customize a farm if you want to build something else out. And with that, let's go ahead and take the skies and kind of fly around the map and take a look at things from above. Now, one thing that I'm going to say is pretty prominent here on the map is that we've got some pretty big fields, and a vast majority of the map has been kind of reserved for agriculture. Not a lot of land has been wasted, if you want to say that, on anything other than fields. Right? We got some pretty sparse roads, And really one side of the map is where 99% of our sell points and production is going to be located. There is one item that is not in town, and that is the biogas plant. That's going to be located over here across from Field 14 on the western side, or sorry, the eastern side of the map. I have to say that the map boundaries have been done really, really well. Like how the map author has continued the roads out for a fair bit. And remember, we are much, much higher than the average player is going to be. The average player probably at, third person above and behind perspective is going to be at this level and not too much higher. So at this level, those map boundaries really do look pretty good. Here we have the biogas plant, and if we own the biogas plant, we can indeed sell the biogas plant. So if you want to put down your own custom BGA, maybe pumps and hoses, maybe the modular BGA or something else entirely, you could sell this and then put anything else down you wanted. We've got our digester, right? We have our dump point for our slurry or manure. We have our pickup for our digestate. Then we have our pickup for our methane. We have the pig farm directly ahead. And each of the three farms are designed completely different. So they all have their own unique and feel. This one has a pre-placed generic farm sim silo. We have our farmhouse located here in the trees. A couple sheds. Then we have our pig barn. We'll take a closer look at that when we get around to the drive around portion. Coming across the northern part of the map, we can take a look. You see the map does have some nice rolling hills. Interesting enough, we do have some areas that are interrupting the field. And we have a little bit of a pond down there in the lowland, or at least kind of setting water. So make our way across the northern part of the map. We're going to come over here to the animal dealer. And then you can see where our John Deere Gator was located, and that is going to be where we all started this whole map tour. So there we have our cool custom signs. Alma next left, and then Quarter is 6 miles ahead. So sorry I misspoke. This is not our animal dealer. This is our sawmill. Everything else is pretty much in town here. So it does get busy pretty quick. As far as productions pre-placed on the map, we have 10. We have the BGA, we have the corn dryer, sawmill, bakery, gray mill, pizzeria, ketchup, dairy, popcorn, and Taylor. So we are going to be giving the map a full point with respect to production being built in or areas set aside for such. And really well done town. In fact, I was trying to get further to the right over here, but no, we're up against the map boundary. We have our ketchup factory, as we can pretty much figure out there. This is where we're going to be buying our propane. Our animal dealer is located here. And then it starts to get really, really busy. We have our bakery. We have a grain sell point right here. Then we have a train transfer silo located right there. Over here we have our grain mill and our corn dryer. We're looking at the back of our vehicle dealer located right here. And then we have our pizzeria as well as our Taylor. And something that I really want to point out here around the back is with respect to the triggers, right? One of our indicators, our triggers are clearly marked. Well, here we have, right, triggers for the pizzeria and the Taylor, and they're all very close together because, well, these buildings are right beside each other. Well, the dump point for the pizzeria is very easily identified because, well, it says pizza right on it. So this is where we're going to dump for our pizzeria. This is our pallet spawn point for our pizza. Then we have our dump point for our Taylor and our pallet spawn point for our Taylor right there. So very, very clearly indicated as to what is for what there. And then here we have the third farm. We're calling this the cow farm. As I mentioned, we have 50 cows from the start. We have our farmhouse. We have a couple barns. And then we have the cow barn itself. And all of this decorative stuff can be sold if you want to. And then you can just start from complete scratch also. Let's make our way back over to our vehicle shop. We'll jump into our Mahindra, then do our drive around. That's it. Really, really like the setup here of the town itself. Gives you that Main Street USA vibe. Okay, we grab our Mahindra. We'll see if our stuff spawns around the back, which I clearly expect it would. Indeed it does. Right here around the back. So let's go ahead and jump on in. And then right across the street, we have our corn dryer. So we have our dump and fill points. We have our interactive icon over here to the left. Then we have our fill point for our propane, located right here. We have our flour mill, our grain mill. So our pallet spawn point, our interactive icon, and our dump point for the flour mill. Let's double back and take a look at our dealer trigger. Again, around the front of the dealer here. I like this slight elevation here on Main Street. This is set up as a dealer trigger, so we do have the repaint, customize, and repair options. So across the street, we have our pizzeria, and then we have our Taylor. What are these guys doing in the pizzeria? Just loitering around, waiting patiently for the pizza to be produced. All right, so we have our interactive icon here for our pizzeria. We have an interactive icon for our Taylor. And like I mentioned just a little bit ago, around the back lot, all right, we have our dump point for our pizzeria, clearly marked pizza. Then we have our pallet spawn point. Then we have our Taylor over here and our Taylor spawn point. So here we have our dump point. It's going to be a sell point, I believe, for the diner. Let's go back around to the front. So here we have our diner. Across the street from the diner, we have our bakery with our interactive icon. Front windows around the back. We're then going to have our dump point and our pallet spawn point. There we go. Bakery, homemade goods. Wouldn't be hometown USA without a flag visible every 10 or 15 feet. Then we're coming up to our next production, which is our dairy. So we have our interactive icon once again here around the front. No doubt the local post office. Then we have our dump point and a pallet spawn point. As I mentioned, this is a grain sell point located right here. And then here we have our train rental trigger as the train goes by. We're at dump and fill point for our train. And then we have the train transfer silo. Where we have our dump and fill points there for trailers. On our way across the railroad track, we've got a little bit of a kind of an empty lot here. If you want to put down some more production, you could. Here we have our animal dealer. So we have an animal dealer sell point as well as dealer trigger. We have a working car wash. You know, and you just need to clean things off a little bit. Getting ready for a hot date, you need to clean off your truck. We have our propane buy point. Sorry, this is our methane sell point. And our propane buy point. Then we have our popcorn factory. So we have an interactive icon, we have our pallet spawn point, and our dump point here for our popcorn. Then we have our ketchup point. So again, kind of like the pizzeria, to separate this out from the popcorn factory, we have our ketchup dump point, our interactive point, then our pallet spawn point. Let's double back over to our third farm, the cow farm. It's on the other side of town. And then we'll drive quickly over to our sawmill. Whoa, people. That truck just cut this car off. Man, oh man. Watch out, obviously, for parked cars here along Main Street. And here we have our third farm, cow farm. Again, with 50 pre-placed cows. So a farmhouse. We can once again sell everything that is here. Our sleep trigger is going to be around the back of the farmhouse. We have some old deco bales, deco trash and things. Again, all of that can be sold. Vehicle and implement storage. Really nice building. Another one of these huts. Then we have our cow barn. So inside the gate, we're going to have our water point. We're going to have our animal drop off here. We start out with 50 cows. We can have a total of 140. Then our food trough and straw trigger is going to be located inside. Then we have our milk point right there. A small equipment shed. And that is pretty much the cow farm here. We got a slurry point. Now, like I said, let's double back through town once again. Make our way up to our sawmill. I think we'll go through town at this perspective. Kind of get a from vehicle perspective of Main Street. And while we're driving up there, let's talk more about our scoring system. We're going to be giving the map 3/4 of a point with respect to the ability to sell all of our basic game crops, production items, and animal outputs, because we are lacking in the ability to sell planks. We're going to be giving the map a full point with respect to the ability to customize the main starting farm, as well as farms 2 and 3 once you purchase those. Buildings where appropriately are using the new texturing technique. In fact, all the buildings on the map here are using the new texturing technique. They all look absolutely great. And I really do like the custom buildings at Main Town, down along Main Street. As I did see, and as you kind of saw there, vehicles do observe the stop sign. So here we have our sawmill. Once again, you know, I like how the map boundary, the road just continues on, even though we are right at the map boundary there. So we have our dump point for our logs. We have our wood cell trigger, our interactive trigger. We have our wood chip trigger, and then our pallet spawn point for our planks. If you do want to do forestry, though, you will need to put down a cell point or a carpentry shop to further refine those planks. Let's make our way over to what I've identified as farm number 2. That is the pig farm. Let me know what you all are thinking about this map. Alma, Missouri. I think it's a really nice map. The only thing that's probably keeping me from playing it at this point is quite possibly the field sizes. They are a little bit bigger than what I would typically do in single player, simply because of the time factor it would take in order to harvest and do a lot of the field work for the machinery size that I like to enjoy to use. So over here to our right, we do have that pig farm. This little creek running there and behind the farm. And I did go ahead and buy these farms earlier. That's why these triggers are showing up. So we have our farmhouse with our sleep trigger at the front door. We do have the ability to use this garage, so those doors do roll up. And then we have, once again, kind of a variant of the machine shed that we saw over at the second farm, or should I say the third farm. Over silo dump and fill point. Kind of a bale farm, bale building. Storing small implements. Then down here we have our pig area. So this is going to be our slurry point. Our food and straw are going to be inside here. And then we have our animal dealer. 108 pigs can be in this building. And now that we've bought all the animals, let's go ahead and take a look at our animal food requirements, because the description did say we had custom animal food. So for our cows, they are going to require total mixed rations, hay, grass, or base food. And I believe base food is probably going to be alfalfa. Where we have our cows there. As far as our sheep, we have just normal grass. Pigs are going to be base food, grain, protein, and root crops. Looks pretty normal. And then our horses are going to be base food and hay. So that looks pretty normal there as well. So our last scoring metric is going to be player interactive areas being clearly marked. And I think the map author has done an absolute fabulous job with clearly marking these triggers. Like I said, we have a couple areas where production's very, very close together. And what he has done is he has basically implemented custom icons at least one of those productions to clearly indicate kind of what is going on. What is a dump point for the pizzeria? What's a dump point for the ketchup factory? And then kind of de facto, you're going to know what the dump point is for our Taylor and then the popcorn factory. So overall, we're going to be giving this map a score of 4.75 out of 5. Very respectable score. The only thing keeping it away from a perfect 5.0 is the lack of ability to sell planks. Was that an accidental oversight? Was it deliberate? It's hard to say. Only the map author knows. Maybe we'll get a quick update that will allow you to sell planks, and then we'll kind of maybe have an answer on that. But at any rate, 4.75, and if you don't plan to do forestry, well, then you know what? Might as well be a 5 out of 5 because you're not going to do planks anyway. Something I missed completely during the map tour of this farm, as well as kind of my cursory look around the map before I started recording, is I just saw a giant slurry pit. So before we leave, let's go ahead and check that out. It's down further past the cow barn. Really like this barn. I'd like to know if this is a custom creation of the map author or if this is coming from somewhere else. Really like that setup. So down here, removed from the farm, removed from the barn, here we have our big slurry pit. Pretty cool setup. Once again, let me know your thoughts down below. What do you think of Alma, Missouri? Is it going to be your next gameplay? And until next time, happy farming.